So I'm like, oh, you're going to die.
This is Kenton Claremont from Train to Hunt, and you're watching the Gritty Bowmen.
Is the only thing that's got me anywhere is hard work. That's all I got. I'm not the best shot. I'm not anything. So all I know is to work hard. So I can't really back off of it because that got me to the dance.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to keep riding it. I'll just keep, all I can do is give all I got.
Yeah.
I do not talk with my hands. I don't know what you're talking about.
I do not. With my hands? My hands?
What? I just Randy Black Eagle.
That's it. Boom.
That's my.
That's how we roll. Just drop the mic and walk away.
All right, folks. Welcome to the Gritty Bowmen Podcast. I'm here with Aron Snyder on a lovely Thursday afternoon, and we are going to do a podcast. We've had a bunch of people send us emails asking to learn about Aron Snyder's shot process. Is that what we should call it? Like shot sequence, or like what goes on between the ears when you go to shoot your bow, and also maybe what goes on in the form and all of that.
Right. Yeah. When I call it the executing my shot. Incorrectly or correctly. And that happens all the time, both.
One way or another, it'll be executed.
Yeah. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have some bows back there with some bling bling on them, some flare.
The struggle stick, 1 and 2.
1 and 2. Oh, dude.
I'm not on Do Not Disturb. I am now.
So on those, by the way, you are a masterful artist. I mean, the way you've camo painted those things, I mean, not...
And it's not from doing graffiti as a kid either. I just had painted some weapons, and I got the hang of it or whatever. Although the one is screwed up because, and I knew better. It dripped a little when I painted it. Well, I'll just go over the quick. Might as well cover everything because we've gotten a ton of phone calls about how I paint it.
That's right.
It's super simple, and I redneck the crap out of it. It's nothing special.
Yeah.
And my daughter and I do it all the time. So I take my preferred base paint. I'm trying to get off the crack. I'm trying not to eat those things. So
peanut butter bars. Aaron, how can you walk away from these?
Oh, it's difficult. I still eat them. I've just slowed down. The first step to an addiction is admitting it. And I have a problem. But with painting the bows, I just take the string off and take it, 1 piece or 3. Mine's a 3-piece. And I hang them just so I can, spray cleaner so I don't have to flip them. And I pick my base color, which is generally tan. I try to do 3 layers of color, 3 offset layers, just from what I know about how an animal sees that and it looks cooler. I just spray it, and I never let it dry as long as I probably should. And my base coach usually, again, someone will get on here and tell me I'm doing it wrong, and I'm going to go ahead and already say I know. I'm just rednecking it. So I let it dry for a little while, and I spray it again. And then once it's kind of dry where the decal doesn't stick to it, I just kind of hold up the decal and just spray. I get the decals on Amazon. I used to cut them. So in the case of like this one, which is probably hard to see, but I've got my base coat, and then I had kind of a multicam-ish pattern. And I just literally, if it was a sheet of paper, I just hold it up with one hand like that, and then just spray over it. And I do the next color, and I let that dry. And I go and I just spray it again, and I do the next color. The key is let it dry long enough, and don't spray the spray paint. Don't get the can too close or it'll drip. And then if you think you've screwed up, don't touch it until it's dry, which is how I screwed that one up. I touched it before it was dry, and then I just spray a clear coat over the top. And you beat the hell out of them. I mean, it stays.
Dude, it looks just like a stalker.
Stick bow? Yeah, I painted the soul on my bow because everybody. It's like, you have an aluminum riser bow. Your bow has no soul. I have to say, with South, he does. You can tell he has his heart and soul in every bow. Like, I've never seen a man get so much enjoyment of making a masterpiece bow where some bows, bow companies, you get like, it's kind of a plain Jane bow. There's not a lot of, art in it or whatever.
Right.
Or with South, he's picking the wood exact to match, as far as like the inlays or whatever you call it. I mean, it's pretty amazing what South does with his bows. Yeah,
Right.
you need a bigger head. You need Brent standing behind you. He'll block that sun.
Right.
But yeah, so I spray paint it like that. So as far as the questions, like with what I've learned, because I am no expert, I just started this, but what I've learned so far, you've got the different like limb systems. You've got, I'm not going to go into all of them. You've got an ILF limb system with Hoyt. This is kind of a modified ILF limb system. And then you've got you've got a longbow, you've got a recurve, you've got kind of hybrids like a pronghorn ferret, I think it's called. So what I've kind of learned with me is I shoot, a couple different styles, split finger or 3-finger, and I shoot 3 fingers under. So when I knock, the arrow, which I'm not admitting to shooting broadheads at Bear Creek Lake Park, but if I was this morning, that's why these are on here. And so when I knock, I have my finger tab. This is a Black Widow 3-finger under tab, and I just hook it under there. I've got D-loop tied above or D-loop. I've got serving tied above and below, and I'm shooting with this bow. What is strange, each bow is different. I shoot about 11/16 knock high. I just even tiller the bow for the most part, setting it up. I 90 degrees off of this initially, even tiller the bow, and then I tie my knock point in about 11/16 knock high.
Yep.
The tiller is relatively even. With this bow, since I can adjust the tiller, and like I said again, 5/8, 11/16 knock high, I will generally back out this bottom limb an extra 16th. So if I measure my tiller from here, from my pocket to my string, this distance here will be about an 1/8 inch greater than the distance up here. And what that is for is because my string or my fingers, I'm getting more pressure down here on this lower section. So since I'm doing a poor job explaining that, I'm going to skip to a new subject and go to the... What's that?
That Trad Tips video, that's out. That Trad Tips video, he goes into that kind of detail. When he talks about string walking, even, and when you pull from the limbs, you're pulling not from the very center of the weight isn't distributed perfectly because your hand's on the lower.
Yeah, below the arrow, below center.
Below the arrow,
not
yeah.
Center.
And so there's things you want to do to adjust for that.
Well, and when you string walk, it gets all kinds of wonky because you're going like way down below and arrow flight's crazy. So what happened with me is I started split finger shooting, and I actually went to 3 under initially because it just felt more comfortable on my hand. And then once I started shooting, I kind of got a system now to where with the Black Eagle arrows and their weight, my point on, meaning when I draw back and I anchor, I kind of put the cup of this, my thumb and index finger under my jaw. When I anchor, all the way drawn back to where I should be, my point on is 40 yards, meaning if I put my field point on the target, I hit it, which I have found is a very lethal setup because I'm instinctive from 0 out to about 35. And then from 35 to 50, I watch my point. So I can shoot real fast close up, and I kind of aim farther distances. Now, some guys shoot just instinctive all the time, every distance. Some guys string walk, which is, I'm not even going to explain that. And then some guys gap shoot, which is where I'm aiming down the arrow. I think I explained that right.
Yep. I was going to say, and we kind of talked about that before too.
Yep. So what I learned, so I went and saw the key for shooting good is a good coach. I went and saw Rocky Mountain Specialty Gear and saw the clums. and they're great coaches. And we've talked about this before, kind of broke things down from compound to traditional. And I'm going to try to not screw this up, but when you shoot a bow, how do I explain this? Joel Turner. Now, I haven't been through Joel's classes. I've only talked to him on the phone and watched his videos. And he is very smart when it comes to shooting.
Like, I went to his clinic last week, last week, I believe. What he talks about is a closed loop versus an open loop system. The way that Joel explained it to me, and I have a whole podcast that we did together, right? So I'm going to publish that here very soon. I'm working on editing it now. But the way that Joel explained it to me was you have an open loop system and a closed loop system. And the way that he describes it is an open loop system is when you shoot on autopilot, basically. And a closed loop system is when you actually are present for all parts of the shot. Now, often we think we're deliberately shooting the shot, but really we're on autopilot.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Which is bad. So the recoil from a shot causes us to flinch.
That is where he and I disagree. And Tom Klum and I have talked about this before. With most people, it's true. And it's very arguable for some people I'm not recoil sensitive. When I shoot, you can see what I'm doing wrong has nothing to do with the recoil of the shot, if that makes sense.
No, it absolutely does. And he mentioned that as well. So, so what you kind of have is people who respond to recoil, which is the average person, right? There's like an explosion. It's definitely, if you picture yourself shooting a handgun, you get the handgun up, the bullet's out there, you pull the trigger.
That makes your arms look good, by the way. Keep doing that.
So you shoot that bullet, and there's that explosion in front of your hand. And so that's one of the most, I guess, jarring, you literally have an explosion out in front of you. Well, we're programmed, we've evolved to avoid explosions. There's you can't help but close your eyes, flinch, do things like that because of the noise. Now, if you're shooting a rubber band gun, there's a lot less flinching because there's less explosion. You know what I mean? But
yep.
But the principle is still the same. Most humans brace for the shot.
Mm-hmm.
And if they know when the shot's going to go off, they have braced for it, meaning that they have tightened up, flinched, done something to protect themselves against the shot, against the explosion, which puts input into the shot and makes it shoot poorly. Mm-hmm. So if you picture, like a bow inside of a Hooter shooter, and the machine is shooting the bow automatically. It's just a machine that shoots the bow for you. So there's no human input, right? You put a bow in that machine, the arrow gets shot. There's no flinching, there's no errors, there's no nothing, and the bow groups perfectly, like on a compound, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why doesn't it shoot that way when it's in my hands? Well, because when I pull it back, now there's all this human input that I'll put into it. And what I have found is when I'm shooting a bow that's dead in the hand, super quiet, and has no explosion behind it, like it's really it's just such a smooth bow, I don't flinch much. Mm-hmm. But if I'm shooting a bow that's crashes down pretty hard and is I tend to brace for that shot a lot more than I would on a bow that's super dead in the hand, because I'm feeling all the power. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's just, and his teaching method would be the same for my ideologies for why people get target panic.
Right.
and the human error and input. So
let me finish, going on to what you were saying. The idea is that there are some shooters, probably yourself included in this group, where the explosion, you have an uncanny ability, or you have mastered the ability to minimize or to put in zero input due to the explosion. Like, you're able to ignore it in a way that other people don't. So the question is which is better, to have a surprise shot that you didn't know was going to happen, that just happens, and so the arrow's gone, like a gun,
right.
or to have a deliberate shot but have your body not react and put input into the shot. Right? Does it make sense?
Exactly. And it goes for both, where it's not recoil that gets in the way. For me, it's my brain, or it's recoil. The end result, and it's semantics of what happens in the middle.
Yeah.
But the end result needs to be what Joel teaches, and that's what I explain to guys, because other guys and I have we've talked about the different teaching methods, and the other school of thought is your brain, right? Your brain tells your right hand to pull the trigger.
Yep.
And then your brain says, "Holy crap, my right hand just pulled the trigger. It's left hand, grab my bow."
Right.
And a lot of stuff in the middle, and it has nothing to do with recoil, but it still has the same end game of what Joel teaches, meaning some people are going to have a surprise shot, an endless loop, closed loop, the idea is behind his endless loop and continuous loop and closed loop circuit.
Closed loop or open loop.
Open loop, right. Where with me, since I'm not recoil sensitive and it's my brain that gets away, my closed loop, which in the case when I shoot, and I'll go over my shot execution, is my knuckle and, this bearing into here and my feather hitting my nose. That's my clicker on my compound. Okay, jackass, get it together and focus and start executing your shot the way you should. Or on my case of my, the feather with my trad bow, or my clicker with my compound, and I hunt with a clicker, I just file it down. I can still shoot well without the clicker, and I can still shoot well without the feather hitting, but it keeps me personally in check. Yeah. It reminds me to start my shot execution.
When I watched Joel shoot, and I've said this, one of the best shooters I've seen, when he's shooting, there's and Matt Davis said the same thing. Matt's I shoot with the clicker, because a clicker, basically when he gets back and he hears that click, the arrow's going off.
Right.
That's his signal to let it go. It's his surprise release. It's sort of one of those things where without that surprise release, or without that clicker, it's hard to perfect that surprise release. To me, it's a lot harder to do a surprise release in my mind with a stick bow than it is with a compound, because with the compound you can have a mechanical release, like a hinge release or whatever, where you don't really know when it's going to go off.
And I also had 5 different releases in my pocket when I was shooting, at times with no clicker, and you didn't know when they were going to go off. Now that's a surprise release, because you got 5 of them. They're all identical. They go when they want to go. That keeps you honest. But then I had clickers, and I shaved them a little bit different, so I was always surprised. Well, you can't have 5 different hands, brains, and clickers on a trad bow. You're going to eventually know when it's going to go off. It just helps.
That's how Randy Ulmer did it too. With what are those release pouches, and everybody has all these different releases, and they're pulling them out.
Yep.
And so Joel and I had a really fascinating conversation about all that stuff, and that'll come out in a podcast here really soon. I think that his instruction definitely helped me tremendously, helped me work on that surprise shot. But it's very, very easy to go back to the way I was shooting before.
You definitely need a coach or in my case, when I can't go see Tom Sr., a video camera does wonders. Like, I video myself because then I'm like, oh, yeah, that's what I'm doing wrong. And so I think that with the coaching and everything else, and we're talking about all of this, what it boils down to at the end of the day is you're going to have a correct shot execution for your brain, really, is what it boils down to. And talking about like the anticipation, the shot execution, whatever, the recoil, whatever happens, you generally screw up when an animal's in front of you. Everything you've ever learned out the window with a compound, you hammer the trigger. What I'm trying to do, me personally, is get the correct shot execution ingrained in my brain so heavily that it is impossible for me to screw up too much when an animal's in front of me. And people would ask that question with a compound, like, hey, do you perform great shot execution when an animal's in front of you? And I'm like, hell no. I punch the crap out of the trigger. But my body is my bow arm, my body, basically my form is good enough to where when I punch that trigger, I don't have this violent reaction with my left hand yanking the bow out of the way. I still have the bow coming forward correctly. Now with the trad bow, which I'm new at, which has days of glory and days of depression. Last night was a day of depression. I always shoot good at 20. I mean, good meaning roughly. But like, I'll shoot 3 or 4 good arrows. I'll miss the bail at 40. No idea why. 3 arrows the size of a softball, 1 arrow, 3 feet to the left. And I did not perform my shot execution correctly. And I'll go over that now, the many ways I screw up. And this is where Joel's handy. Now, I will say with Joel, there's different methods of teaching. Joel is the method of teaching to prep you for the zombies to come, because he gets up in your grill and he's getting you ready for, he's helping you and your mind prep for the worst. Like he'll get in your mind, like guys dry fire their bows, or that stuff doesn't really bug me too much in this. I just won't go. Like, maybe don't, just back off. You know what I mean? Where some people, they let it bug them. Where I'm like, well, and he is a very good coach, because what he gets in your mind while coaching is probably going to be the same similarities of when an elk is in front of you.
It's just
getting
like
you riled up.
Just like you said, we all do pretty good with the being present for the shot. That's why you have all these backyard warriors, these guys who are just great target shooters until they have an animal walk in front of them, and then they can't hit the side of a barn over and over and over and over again, and they black out. And it's like, well, what's the difference between that guy? You know, if he's a killer in the backyard, but he blacks out in real life, there's a problem. And so what Joel is trying to say is, in his training, is you every time you're under stress, you default to the automatic. You default to basically not using your brain while you shoot, and just
it's occasionally some people's default mechanism is a straight mercenary killer, but most people forget to look through their peep sight, jerk their bow. I've known guys to shoot at elk with no arrow knocked. Yeah, they lose it. Right? There's one in a very, very delicate few that actually can control it. But what Joel is prepping you for is that moment, or from what I've seen and talked to him.
So there's a lot of people standing around, a lot of people in your face, a lot of people stressing you out while you're shooting, judging your shot in the middle of this clinic, right? And part of that's just to actually push you to concentrate in spite of the stress. It does not replicate that of an animal coming in, but it is practice for that.
Yeah. As close as you're probably going to get. Because, like, for me, I would much rather have an elk in front of me than Joel 16 inches from my face telling me I suck. Because, and that's just for me personally, right? Like, that's just how I am. Like, I don't get too Twitter-pated when elk come in, you know what I mean? And everything else, I'm pretty... I mean, even on the like the bear hunt. You know what I mean? I didn't get too agitated. But I can say for sure, like the ideology or methodology that he teaches is sound. It works. Like if you suck at shooting, you should probably go see Joel.
Well, and here's what I found too. Joel's approach is a lot different than many of the other coaches I've been around, in the sense that he's not really too concerned about how I'm holding the bow, how I'm pulling the bow, where my knock point is, things like that, as much as he is.
He's not a mechanics coach.
Nope, he's really, and he knows his mechanics, but he's like, look, there's no point really going there as much until you can actually shoot with deliberate concentration.
Mm-hmm.
And most people don't, dude. I watch them shoot. They got the bow back, they get their finger on that trigger, boom, and they pull it when they feel like it's lined up.
Right.
There's always, in that situation, there's some, I mean, I don't know. It's until I started killing a few animals and could control my emotions, you could say I have target panic, right? Like you just pull the trigger.
Get to look through the peep sight, like, hey, what happened? I don't remember, right? Like
nothing.
That's the first thing I told Tom Klum, that I knew I still had my stuff together with the trad bow. I remembered everything when I shot the bear. Right. Nothing was blacked out. And people can say I'm hard, not me, meaning like, you know, somebody can say, I don't ever do that, whatever. You're lying. I don't know anyone that hasn't blacked out on a couple animals. I'm lucky enough to where I remember even the ones I screw up on. I wish I could forget. I always remember. I mean, the first one's not so much, but you know what I mean? The last several animals I've shot, I remember everything.
Yeah.
And I play it back in my mind. What did I do wrong to try and Joel's very much like a very meticulous, very anal retentive guy when it comes to you getting things perfect. Like, you know, your shot execution. Mechanics wise, he does know mechanics pretty well, but there's a few schools of thought to that. You want to have decent mechanics, in my opinion, before you go to Joel's class. Decent mechanics meaning you want your draw length correct. You want to have your solid foundation, your anchor point. You want to be in a T. You want to have a good arrow setup, because that's just common. You want to have all that. As long as you can shoot, then go to Joel's class. So don't go in there with a draw length 1.5 inches long, because you will be in trouble because you're already screwed up.
Yeah.
Then your brain part will really screw you.
Well, one of the things that's interesting is you learn a lot from like so we discussed this topic, which was really interesting. You'll have a guy who's in the honeymoon period for, like, let's say switching to traditional. So he gets his traditional bow, and now he's shooting it, and he's like, man, I'm really good. I'm really good. And about 2 months after he's into it, he's sucking.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what happened? He was really good there, and then what's he doing wrong? Well, in the beginning, he had to focus on every aspect of pulling the bow back, shooting, because it's all awkward. And there isn't your body hasn't learned the automatic process. Because pulling it back, and I'm in that position now. When I get a bow and I'm pulling it back, I haven't shot a trad bow enough times to where it just is like so instinctive, right?
Yeah.
So I pull it back, and I'm thinking, where's my arm? Where's my hand? Where am I knocking? Okay, am I expanding through the chest? Is my back tension in place? Is my point on where I want? Am I looking down the arrow? I'm paying attention to all these factors, right? Because they're so foreign to me. And so when I let that bow go, and I'm bringing my hand back, and I'm following through, I'm doing all of that pretty well. I shot with Matt Davis and Casey Harbertson up there. I shot well. I'm shooting because it's all in my mind. Really, I have to be present because I don't have an automatic, so I'm more present. What Joel was describing, and the same for compounds as well, once you get that stuff all dialed in, and it's really simple, and you've done it a million times, you've done it a lot, that's when you just pull back and you start just going into motion. They're going through motions. I'm no longer present really for the shot. All those little pieces I was thinking about before, I don't ever think about. When I've got my release on my bow and I'm getting ready to squeeze through that trigger or pull, in the past, what I would do is I'd put all that pressure on there and let it break over and be surprised. Well, now I'm so good at it, even when I'm trying to be surprised, I know when it's going to break over. And I start just going, yeah, it's close. I know. I've done this a million times. I start shooting.
Yeah.
And pretty soon, the honeymoon period, when it's over, that's when guys start to shoot bad. They started out great, and it's like, well, how come they were so good in the beginning and they got worse? Well, over time, I think two things happen. And believe me, by all means, I'm not like some expert. But I think for me, what happens is you get used to anticipating when that shot will go off. It's no longer ever a surprise. You're so familiar with your equipment that you're bracing for the explosion, if you will, on each shot. When you're shooting in the beginning, you're not bracing. You're also not following into automatic processes. And the only thing that where Joel was unique was he quickly enabled me to find ways to concentrate in ways I didn't before. I thought I was concentrating, but it was not the same, dude.
Yeah. Well, and I think, and I haven't been through I've only chit-chatted with him and watched some of his stuff. It was explained to me when I was shooting tournaments, said, hey, if someone told you take a quarter, go 2 feet, 3 feet above a coffee cup and drop that quarter in that coffee cup every time. I think I told you this story.
Yep.
And you're going to start BSing 25 like this is stupid and you're going to miss. But if somebody said, I'm going to give you $1 million if you can drop it in that 100 times in a row, you are going to be showing full concentration on that every time. And that's what you need to win. That's the kind of concentration you have to have on each shot.
That's what Joel was talking about. That's a very good example, because when I showed up, Joel's like, okay, doing a similar exercise. Drop that coin into the cup. Okay, great. So I grab a stack of coins. I'm dropping them into the cup. For example, one doesn't make it. One didn't make it. Joel's like, whoa. His teaching style is like, whoa, how come that didn't make it? Like, yeah, dude, how come that didn't make it? And you're like, well, he's like, no, there is no time where it doesn't get to make it.
Yeah.
You have to make it every time. So you pull it back up and you're like, okay. And he's like, you can't go to the next level of training till you've actually got all 100 coins into that cup, for example. Well, then you're like slowing way down, and every single coin is aimed perfectly. And that's where being mindful and concentrating and being present during the shot is the difference.
Right. Well, and it happens. So like with me, I have a couple problems. One, I hold back too long. Sometimes we were filming the other day and I was holding back for like 8 seconds. I should just let down. Right. I mean, one of the reasons I think is I've ingrained in my brain so much to focus on my shot. I'm focusing too much and I should just let down and chill. I have the muscular ability to do it, which is probably bad, and still put it in the dot. And for me right now, like, my goal is I have a Reinhardt 18 or block target, and there's a circle a little smaller than a paper plate, and anything past 40, if I'm in that block, I'm happy, right? That's kind of like, okay, I'm shooting pretty good, right in here. Do I have abilities to shoot better than that? Would Joel be yelling at me saying you can do more? Probably, but for me right now, I'm like, pretty good. Yeah. Well, as far as honing my skills farther, I'm sure I could do that. But when I come out of that circle, because that's pretty good shooting at 40, one thing happens that is, well, two things consistent with me. So when I shoot, I get my feet, basically the linebacker stance, shoulder width apart, all the normal crap. I got to turn the old hat on backwards. I'm not going to show you a-holes my eyebrows because I don't want to. And then I hook up under the string or under the knock. right about here is when my feather touches my nose. Once that touches my nose, basically, I just keep pulling just a little bit. And you can watch my elbow when I'm doing it on camera. And boom, I come straight back. My bow basically goes, straight out from my hand, or straight away from me and a little left. This comes straight back, and I try to end up with my hand on my shoulder. I'm not very flexible. It doesn't work very well. When I do it wrong, I and you see me on video, I come out. That's my problem. I come out. That has nothing to do, and I'll argue with Joel till the day I die. It doesn't have jack shit to do with recoil. That has to do with my brain. Like, it's not, and I know me. I've shot, I was at a very high level with a compound. It's me not concentrating. It's not because of recoil. What I need him to do is hook up. Like, if you could hook, corporal punishment is great, right? If you could hook a shocker to me, and when I did that and some guy was sitting back, I guarantee you shock me 3 or 4 times, I'd be like, I got to focus here. I don't want to get shocked, right? There's a risk there's a problem.
Yeah.
And actually, when we were in Korea doing the headspace and timing on a 50 cal, this shows you abuse helps a lot of people. Our guys were screwing it up, and we're American. Because we just make them do push-ups when they screw it up. When North Korea or South Koreans in the ROK Army, they were getting hit in the back of the head. Well, they figured it out fast, right? They got it quick. So for me, when I draw back, I come to here, and I keep kind of rotating, back tension. Boom, the shot executes, and I'm straight back. Now, what I do when I'm wrong, I'm basically away and away.
Yep.
I'm pulling away from my face.
I could see that in the videos that we'd recorded in BC.
The problem is I still can hit stuff, and that's bad. It'd be better if I missed.
Right.
So,
but
go ahead.
I was going to say that after spending some time with Joel, you're right. You're basically describing you let your concentration go at that last moment. It's not that necessarily that you're racing for recoil. It's just that you let that form go the wrong direction because you weren't concentrating.
And I will agree with Joel on this. That started not from recoil, but the same basic principle. The string was hitting my face. And the easy way out was if I come away, the string doesn't hit my face. And that's where that started, that bad habit. And I don't hit my face anymore. It's just a matter of disciplining yourself enough to get the correct shot execution down.
So here's the thing that was really eye-opening for me, and it's changing my shot. When you're back there and you're in the middle of that shot, and if you're present in that moment, right, and you're about to pluck the string, you can feel it's going to happen, or you're not paying attention to it. The one thing that happened with Joel and I throughout the clinic, and I saw him do with all the other guys shooting, was stop the shot.
Yep. And that's what I need to do. Let her down.
Stop the shot. Right. If you can feel like it's not going to be a perfect shot, stop the shot. And the idea, if you're concentrating throughout the whole shot, there's no point at which it can't be stopped.
Mm-hmm.
When you're on an open loop, that's when you are on autopilot. That's when you don't let down, and once it's back, it's going no matter what.
Yeah.
That's the bad habit that has to be broke. So it was really, for me, many times where I just feel things were falling apart. The shot was not feeling right, and I'm still trying to power through. He's like, look, and I just shot. And he's like, why? Why? And it's like, oh, yeah, I knew it wasn't going to be a perfect shot. I should just let down, start over again. Once I started doing that, and I've been doing that like out on the 3D course, I'm like, yeah, it took too long. I stopped, I was squeezing, and then I kind of froze and went, when is this going to break? When is this shot going to go? When is this shot going to go? Well, as soon as that happens, it's time to start over. Let her down, start over. Well, being able to talk to myself and be present enough to recognize that there's a problem and then stop myself in the middle of the shot was a monumental achievement for me.
Well, and we used to always say...
You can make fun of me, but I mean...
No, dude, I'm laughing because I I got target panic one time, and I'm not going to say it's impossible for me to get it again.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say it's impossible for me to get it again because I learned in a lot of ways what to do to not get it. And one is put the bow down.
Yeah.
Like if you shoot a pop-up 3D, don't shoot your bow for a couple weeks when that bad boy's over. Put it in the case and leave it alone because you have ingrained in your mind, whack, whack, because you have to.
Right.
Or in the case of like, if I go out stump shooting, which you get a little flicky with stump shooting because you're just launching arrows like the movie 300. And the problem is, too, is if you're good, I'll still hit, right? Which is bad. It'd be better if I missed by a couple feet. Like the other day, I was shooting at 80, hitting the bail, the target, and I was watching the video. And I'm like, I should not have been hitting the bail at 80 with a recurve. Because you can watch, and it's not that I was coming back well, but I collapsed just a little bit. You can watch me come forward. When I say collapse, if you're got full back tension all the time, every time, you're not coming forward. You can watch your arrow back up here on the shelf going back. Well, I was collapsing a little, or I wasn't correct, and I still hitting the bail. So anyway, I've been through it, dude. I got to a point with the compound, I was just smoking everything, just crushing guys. And then just one day, because I was shooting a trigger, dude, the wrist rocket is the death. I mean, it's horrible. So the wrist rocket will get you into trouble because it's like putting cookies in front of you every day for a fat kid because it's just a punch away. It's just fire. And so what generally happens, like if you shoot a pop-up 3D tournament with the wrist rocket, you just hammering. You're on autopilot. There is nobody saying, stop punching the trigger, and it becomes automatic. And so for me with this, what I've learned is definitely, okay, if I go fling a bunch of arrows and I get a little yippy with it, just put the bow down because I don't want to ingrain going on autopilot into my mind. And it's not necessarily, if you don't know what you were looking at and you watched me shoot, I always hold back for 3, 4, 5 seconds. I don't ever just rip it off. I'm always get good back tension. Not always, most of the time. But you'll see me, boom, straight away, which is bad. And it's not like I'm plucking the string because of shot anticipation or from target panic. It's because my form sucks, and I need to work on it. And I will literally start to ingrain that in me, away. Well, I can shoot good that way. So for me, I really try to focus on boom, boom, back tension, straight back. And, dude, when I do that right, it's like the best feeling. It's like a hole in one because I'll just wad arrows in that target at 40 yards, and then I'll miss the target because I'm a dip.
It'll be very interesting for you to get your feedback. I'm posting that podcast from Joel and I, and have you listen to it and get your thoughts on that. David Brinker, a lot of the guys down at Sitka that I was just visiting, that have spent time with Joel, they're big fans, that they've learned a lot from him. When you talk about, when you're shooting, it's not because of, bracing for the impact that you're, having some errors in the shot.
I rack concentration.
Yeah, right. Some of the things like Joel describes was that most of the time when this happens, like what you're describing happens, the way you shoot, that you've been able to learn to minimize your input into the shot, but there's still input. That's what Joel would argue.
Mm-hmm.
And right or wrong, but that's what he would argue, that
say that again now.
That because it's not a surprise release, right? You're pulling, you're doing your shot and you're concentrating all the way through, right? But that shot goes by intention. That minutely there's some human input a little bit, that
Well,
wouldn't
there's
be
no
there.
such thing as a surprise release, especially with fingers. I don't see how there would be. So you're saying you don't know the strings coming out of your fingers at some point?
Well, definitely it's not the same as a mechanical release, right? Or like,
Well, even still, mechanical releases, there's a chance you can minimize it, or get close to where it's not as much, or it's more of a surprise.
hmm
But some of the best shooters in the world will tell you it's never a surprise if you shoot enough. And you can't tell me you don't know the strings coming out of your... And this is where it gets interesting, and I'd like to talk to Joel, because I've definitely... It's not like I've never, done the same thing he's doing.
right.
But in my opinion, it's not because... because the difference in me shooting correctly and me coming out here isn't because it's surprise, because I knew it was going to go off when I came back here. It's me and being a lack of discipline for me personally.
Right.
Because I knew it was going to go off when I came back here.
Look, and with the like Matt Davis was saying, the surprise is you don't know when the clicker's going to go off,
Yeah.
and when the clicker clicks, poof, the bow goes off. That's
Okay.
the
So
surprise.
in a million times Matt Davis has shot, he hasn't learned it's going to click at 29 3/4 of draw length? Or has he trained his mind to say, okay, blank it out, oh, click, gone? Because he knows it's going to click, and he knows when, because his draw length doesn't change.
It's sort of like what you're saying is when you master a release,
Yeah,
right?
right.
You've learned a mechanical release, let's say. A lot of guys figure out exactly when it's going to break over, and so once they've done that, now it's not a surprise. You're saying the similar thing with Matt. As soon as it hits that clicker, it goes off. It's not
just
a surprise.
like you shoot the clicker on a release. It's not a surprise.
See, here's the deal. This is why it's so important not to shoot that much.
Yeah, there's some. I'll tell you what,
There's some gritty advice right there.
Hashtag don't shoot. But you're right on the sense of, and I think actually some of the stuff is lost in translation between what I think and what Joel or whatever.
Yeah.
Me shooting a clicker on my back tension is the same as shooting a clicker on the bow. I know it's going to click. I know I'm going to fire. But to me, it's a disciplinary tool. It's like hitting a shocker. You did it wrong. That's like, okay, it's my focal point, clicks, and it's telling me, because it's telling you to release.
Yeah.
How do you not know? It's like, click, shoot your bow. Of course you know. It's not a surprise. It just clicked and told you to shoot it. That can't be a surprise.
But, yeah, I don't have enough experience to say. I know when I'm talking to Matt, he's like, yeah, when he's expanding, he's not sure exactly when it's going to click.
Right, but that's what I mean. I think things are lost in translation. I'm agreeing use a clicker. I'm agreeing it's a huge tool. Where I'm agreeing is don't say it's a surprise, because it clicked. It's like, hey, shoot. It's not a surprise. It just told you to let go.
But it is a surprise in the sense you don't know when it's going to tell you to let go. And then it says, let go.
Even though your draw length is the same for your entire life?
Yeah.
And it's clicking in the same spot? So you're saying every day of my life, if I had to go from here with my finger on the table to here, that I couldn't master 29 3/4 when to stop?
I don't know. Can you?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm doing it today now, where I couldn't hit crap with my bow. I'm shooting without a clicker, meaning I'm drawing back to the same spot.
Yeah.
But while we're talking about all this, so nothing.
But see, I could see, like when you pull it back to that point, right? And you're and the clicker goes off, and and you just let the arrow go.
Yeah.
There's a difference between that and you're pulling, and the clicker goes off, and you're like, yeah, but I'm not ready. Now I'm going to shoot.
But I agree with what you're saying. That's what I mean. I think it's a great training tool. Hell, I'm going to put one on my backup bow. It's great. I mean, it keeps you honest.
Yeah.
But it's not because it's a surprise.
Okay.
Well, to me, and what I've tried to tell people, because, dude, because you're not in like a tight shooting, large group where we all debate about this, right? You get and talk about CrossFit and what to eat, right? And everybody argues about that. Where what I'm trying to do is, if guys get hung up like I have in the past on semantics, and they're like, doesn't matter. I'm not going to go to that guy. It's not a surprise. Don't do that. Because the end result is, whether it's surprise or not, you need it. It helps. And from the way my brain works, the back tension, it's telling me, you're about to go off. Get your shit together. Don't do anything stupid or let down if it doesn't feel right. That's what that clicker does. In the case of Matt, for me, in the case of Matt with a clicker, you draw back and it clicks and doesn't feel right. Let her back down. Where that's your closed loop. Hey, dummy, let it down. Didn't feel right. Where with me, I don't have a clicker. I'll make it go. It's going to work for me, right? I'm going to let her off. And that's and that's kind of my point for my brain, and not people to lose things in semantics of, is it a surprise? Is it not? When I miss, it's because I'm being a ding dong and not letting down. Where a clicker is going to say, hey, shoot, or don't do it. Let back down. It's not good. So
yeah. Well, I think what happens is, again, going back to what you're saying, the ability to not take a shot, to stop yourself at any point during the shot sequence before the arrow goes off. That is proof that you're present during the shot.
And I mean, not to get into this huge debate, because I'm sure Joel and I could argue until I tied him in a knot. But my thing is some of what he says or what people say get hung up in the minds of guys like me. And then we'll just kind of discontinue what he's talking about. Meaning, the first time I heard it's because of recoil, I was like, no, that is not it. But some people it is. Most people, it's 75% of people probably is.
Yeah.
But if somebody would have said, hey, it's you being a ding-dong or a dummy, and, lack of concentration, I would not, I buy into that. That's certainly it. But the end result, which has taken me a minute to step over, is after you get out of the semantics, what he does, or a clicker, or what Joel teaches, it helps you you need that help. And in my case, it is just a fact of concentration and not getting lackadaisical.
Yeah, it sounds like whatever the reason is, the point is, some point, concentration gets lost.
Oh, yeah, and that's what I was telling some of my buddies that we know Joel and watch. When I say no, we've watched some of his stuff. Don't worry about what's lost in translation of why, who, what, and when. Worry about the part that fixes that. Because, I can let down. I sound like an alcoholic. I can stop whenever I want. I can let down whatever I want. The problem is the discipline. What I'm saying is, since I know I can shoot well enough to still hit decent, I won't sometimes. And I should. And what Joel teaches is, hey, dude, even though you can still hit it, don't let it down and perform. Because once you get used to, I can wing it, you go on auto. And then you're just the movie 300. You're ripping arrows off with no
and the way it translates into the real world is when you're at full draw and you're shooting, right? And you're going, you know what? I'm not shooting well, or I'm not concentrating. And you can put that shot down. That same discipline, when an elk walks out, you pull back. You're using your mantra, your shot sequence, your words, your cues, whatever. You're going through that mentally. So you're focused and present. You don't go onto autopilot the way you do without the mind discipline.
And I have a thing that I say in my mind when elk come in.
Which is the question I have for this podcast right now. What is Aron Snyder saying inside of his head when he is... Dude, what do you say, dude? Just
I can't say
be
it.
Honest.
There's cussing words. So
why am I not surprised?
It's the military, man. So in the case of when you're... How would I explain this? If you're firing a weapon with a high cyclic rate, you fire a weapon that fires a lot of rounds, you're going to need to train your brain on how long to squeeze the trigger.
Yep.
And sometimes it's a saying, and you're going to beep this out, but in some ways you hold that button down for the length of die, let her go. Die. This is taught. This is taught, right? That's what they teach you. So for me, when I hit my anchor, and this is when I practice, when I'm doing everything right, when I hit that anchor, basically the time from when I get that anchor, you can see when I shoot, die, mother, die, boom. And I do the same thing with animals, and that's how I've always done it. Because of the military, not that I have anything to do with that, but in my mind, when I'm saying that, that means I am conscious of what is going on. I'm not, oh my, I'm just locked and loaded, boom. And that's what I do. That's what goes on in my mind. That's what I'm saying to myself.
The same thing happens to me when I'm in that moment. I'm like, all right, you're gonna die. This is it. And it's like, what goes through my mind is I'm committed to do whatever it takes to make that shot happen properly.
Yeah. No, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like,
no, I agree. And
which is totally different than just throwing it up and hoping it went in, like on a basketball court or whatever. It totally different from like, okay, here goes. That's way different than I cannot miss. Missing is not an option. I will not allow this to happen. We are making this happen, and I am killing you. You are going to die. That's a totally different, and it helps me focus through that shot and make it.
I suggest everybody to get a saying to say to yourself, because it helps calm you down and helps knows you're in your conscious and you're not letting your subconscious take over. That's probably a bad way to explain it, but meaning you know what's going on. Like
Joel said the same thing. He's like, words are key. They're paramount. Yeah. Using words gives your brain something to attach to focus through what you're doing.
Stupid as this sounds, when an elk walks in, I'll talk to myself like not hum, but I'll be like, you're going to walk by that tree. I'm going to draw my bow. And I'm walking myself through all the variables. So it's like, he's at a tree, boom, draw. Okay, he's taken 3 steps. He's going to clear the pine. And I'm already assessing what's going on. Yeah. Like, I'm literally looking at the entire situation, and I'm like, okay, tree, I can draw here, I can draw here. That way it's not like, when do I draw? I know when I'm going to draw. And then it's like, okay, he's got to clear this, and I'm going to smoke him. And that's when if I'm already at full draw, when he gets to the point I'm going to shoot, I'm like, that's when I do my little saying for my shot execution. And, dude, I haven't shot elk because it just didn't feel – I mean –
yeah.
Through my little saying, things didn't work out, so I didn't shoot. Now,
but that's like an out-of-body experience almost. And that's kind of how I respond in intense situations now, is I'm like, it's like I feel like I'm removed from the moment. Like I'm a third-party person looking down on what's going on. Like emotionally compartmentalize the whole event until it's over.
You'll notice guys in a lot of combat that have cleared a lot of houses, do you want to talk about, they got to worry about some crazy person clacking off a vest, right? Or what, so this guy over here's got an AK. So they're good at assessing, discarding, moving forward, right? Or whatever. Not to compare this to combat because it's not the same thing, but you're kind of want to do the same thing in the sense of you want to kind of assess what's going on. So that way you're in control of every situation you possibly can be, and rather than just kind of wing it. Winging it works sometimes. I winged it a lot.
Yeah. But I think what's really cool here, and the whole point of all of this is at some point, it's about concentration. And like you said earlier, for me, the takeaway from Joel was, especially was using words to aid in my concentration.
Yeah.
And staying present.
Yeah. I think with Joel, if I was going to give him some advice, it is hard for me as an alpha male to deal with somebody 16 inches away from me being back in boot camp.
Oh, yeah.
So, I'll be straight up. I don't want to go listen to that little start yelling at me again, but I'm probably going to have to because he's going to help me. But I would like to be able to pick his brain apart and just talk about stuff. Because for me, since I'm a little bit different shooting the compound and kind of, I don't say different, some compound guys switch to the trad bow, and I think they're just like, this sucks. I can't hit anything because they don't have that initial coaching, right? They don't. And that's where, if you go to Joel's class like that, not good. Because like I said, make sure you draw links. You've got a base form before you go to Joel's class. I think you'll be better off. But I would like for him to just sit there and literally, basically, I want him to whack me every now and then and say, dude, why did you do that? I think it'd be good for me even though I don't want to.
Yeah. Well, I think when you're shooting, Joel mentioned this too. He's like, guys like Aron have no doubt they have an iron mind. Like, you have an extreme ability to focus more than other people, or you wouldn't be the archer you are right now with your compound and now with the trad bow. You have an incredible ability to focus and concentrate above the average Joe.
Dude,
Period.
even Cliff, the guy that was just with me, even Cliff, you can tell he's got some concentration because he's never shot a recurve in his life. And he grabbed my bow and he's shooting like this at 20 with about 30 seconds of instruction. And you could tell, he's got some pretty good hand-eye coordination and he's got some concentration and he's shooting. I was like, wow.
And I think what happens is, and it's a double-edged sword, because your ability to concentrate and be an iron mind, be unflappable and execute your plan with amid distractions, also enables you to get away with things that someone like me can't get away with.
And that's definitely what happens with my shot, because I can get away with coming off my face and still hit the middle of the target.
Right.
Then I can't.
And so it's a double-edged sword, because you don't have to learn the way maybe I do because you're still effective.
Well, and I think the one thing good for me right now is when I screw up. Like, we came back from the bear video and you posted the video. I'm like, oh, mother of pearl.
Some of those shots are perfect, right?
Yeah.
They look really nice, and other ones are wing.
Oh, yeah. And I wish it's not up. It's down, dude. It's like, well, now I've got the camera out constantly now because I'm not a perfectionist, but I mean, I want to shoot well.
Yeah.
So I get the camera out and, dude, over and over and over shooting. We're perfect. But like last night, I was tired. Jody and I were fighting. Not a great day. Super stressed at work. And you could just, dude, I'm like, I kind of hit the target, and then I'm like, I need to go home. Like, okay, because the thing is most guys, and I would say too, don't compare yourself to others. Mm-hmm. Compare yourself to the best you could be, not what someone down. Because, dude, I'll fall into it and be like, there's like 8 stick bow guys there. They can barely hit the target at 20. I'm still hit at 40. Yeah. It's okay, but I may have missed once or twice. Right. Don't worry about it. So I really need to shoot to my best ability and not compare myself to other people, or everyone should do that.
Well, I am going to post this, and then right after that, I'm going to post Joel's podcast so people can get inundated with this shooting and shooting technique and discussion, and so that after they hear this, they may be like, what are they talking about exactly? And with Joel's podcast, it'll kind of explain some things that maybe they don't get in this one, and it'll be a great little back-to-back thing where people can kind of see all these different aspects of taking good, making yourself a better shooter.
And I think anyone having trouble with shooting, when I say trouble with shooting, specifically target panic. If you are having target panic issues, even though it may seem like it's going to get worse, because Joe, it can definitely get in your mind and you'll be dry firing your bow, you should probably see Joel. Because the thing with target panic is the first step is admitting you've got it. Seriously, dude. I've seen guys so bad they just can't aim at the target. Pin goes up, they rip it off. It's bad. What I think Joel's going to help those guys with, if they're starting to get target panic, is just like, check yourself. Get you back on track. And if you have target panic, he'll just at least get you on the road to recovery. And because I know lots of guys that are really good shots. Yeah. But they're not great shots. Well, I think like with Colton. Colton's got genetic ability. Dude's super long draw, tall. And I'm not a coach myself, so I hardly say anything to these guys unless they ask. But Colton would be a prime example, and Frank both. If they went to Joel's class, they'd be up 8 steps, because it's going to help them concentrate on the what we call outliers, right? The wingers. Yeah. outliers are concentration for me. Now, Joel did say something the last time I talked to him when I went Winchester on the turkeys. And I was laughing because I'm thinking, dude, I don't care how many classes I go to. Turkeys running around everywhere. Is it turkeys moving and I'm trying to concentrate? I mean, literally, I'm doing the best I got. Who can hit a turkey skimpering off at 40 yards? Not me, right? I mean, maybe Joel can.
I wouldn't be surprised. He shoots his recurve like a compound. But I was going to say, I was talking to Matt Davis about this, and we were shooting turkey targets up there at Total Archery Challenge in Big Sky, Montana. And I'm looking at the size of the turkey at 40 yards, the kill zone, with a recurve. That's like an impossible feat, dude. That's like the kill zone is so tiny, man. And so the kill zone is about the size of the head. So Matt Davis is aiming for the head just to, you know, and he's hitting it in the head. Yeah. And that's impressive, you know. But
I can do that at 40 because that's my point on.
And it's exponential. It's odd. Like, and I think Matt Davis said this. He's like 5-yard increases in shot distance, like 25 to 30 yards and 30 to 35 and 40 to 45. Those 5-yard increments, he's like, are like 20-yard increments with a compound.
Or like I would say for me, like 30.
Your groups all of a sudden get worse and worse. It's like a guy can be super good shot out to 50 yards, and then from 50 to 60, it's like all over the place. It's like that.
And dude, there's so much. I got to throw this in because there's so much I'm learning. Your head position, if you're gap shooting, if you move your head a little, that changes where you hold your pit. There's so much involved, and then your palm, your execution. If you're creeping, your release. It's not like a compound. You just drop back and hammer the trigger. And dude, Matt is right because literally at 40, dude, I'm deadly, like lethal. 50, I might wound you. It's a big difference. You know, there's just so much going involved in it.
All right, dude. We better wrap it up. I'm getting buzzed all over the place.
Yeah, dude, I'm like 75 phone calls here.
That's right. So
sorry, Kufaru peoples.
It's good stuff. I'll get this published as soon as I can. I'll be in Colorado next week, man. Moved.
Oh, it'll be it's on like Donkey Kong. We're ready to roll. Lots of tags. I'll be going Winchester, Joel, just for you. I would say though, for guys asking all the time, so it's Rocky Mountain Specialty Gear for Trad Help, Tom Klum, and then Joel Turner, and it's Iron Mine Shooting Systems. What?
Iron Mine Hunting.
Iron Mine Hunting. Those are for traditional specifically, but compound for the iron. I mean, anyway, they'll help you out a lot, especially guys struggling with the trad stuff. Because I can tell you, it doesn't get better on your own. You just get better at sucking, but it never gets to perfection. Yeah. So definitely see a coach.
Okay, dude. I'll catch you later, man.
All right, man. Stay gritty.
Okay, gritty friends. I hope you enjoyed that podcast. If you did, please take a moment to leave us a review on iTunes, Podbean, or Stitcher. We love reading your reviews. And connect with us on social media if you're on there. Look us up on Facebook and Instagram, and take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can receive notifications when we upload new videos. We've got a sweet deal with Mountain Ops. You get 20% off on all Mountain Ops supplements, combo packs, and apparel when you type in the word gritty at checkout. All right, friends, let me leave you with one other quote from Theodore Roosevelt, who said, "It behooves every man to remember that the work of the critic is of altogether secondary importance, and that, in the end, progress is accomplished by the man who does things." We all have a choice. We can be people who do things or people who criticize the work of others. It's pretty simple, really. Get out there and do your thing. Good luck on your hunts, and stay gritty.
This is Ty Stubblefield, and you're listening to the Gritty Bowmen.
Gritty Bowmen.